It took someone who had been in these women's shoes to appreciate the values and the experiences they bring to a company. With more than 60% of women working, juggling work and family responsibilities is the #1 challenge for working women. For those who are baby boomers like me, we know what it is like to be the sandwich generation, especially for women who are sandwiched in between child rearing and elder care. With the increasing number of women as equal or major breadwinners as their husbands, more than ever, they need flexibility to balance work and family life. I met Ann Weisberg in Chicago. She served as a member of the National Advisory Commission on Workplace Flexibility 2010. And this is what she said to me. She said, we should make workplace flexibility the new normal for the 21st century, because she believed what's good for women is good for business, for families, and for our economy. And for women to succeed, flexibility has to be the norm for this new century, not a privilege for a few. I am very optimistic about the future of women in the workforce, with women leaders like Ellen Costello, Brenda Barnes, and Ann Weisberg, but also women like Holly Holland and Aria Soto, because each makes a difference in their own way. Having referenced these success stories, let's not forget that there are still many women who are stuck in low-paying jobs with no flexibility, benefits, pensions, or a secure financial future for themselves and for their families. And this is why that we still have a lot of work to do ahead of us. And there are still a lot of barriers that prevent women from advancing in the workplace. So for anyone who asks why we still need a bureau for women, this will be my answer. There's an old Chinese saying, women hold up half of the sky. We have women like Frances Bolton, Esther Peterson, and Bella Abzug in the past paving the way for us. And we are fortunate today that we have organizations and leaders across the country, like the Hard-Headed Women, and the Ohio Governor's Office of Women's Initiatives, and women leaders in this room who share the same passion and commitment for the advancement of women in the workplace. But women did not and will not do this alone. Throughout our history, there have also been many good men who championed for women's rights. I would be remiss if I did not mention Senator Edward Kennedy, especially in his passing. Among all his legislative accomplishments, making this country a more equal and just place for everyone, the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993 was his lasting legacy for women and families. And the Women's Bureau owes Senator Kennedy tremendous gratitude for saving our regional offices. You see, at the end of 2001, there was a plan in the Department of Labor's proposed budget to eliminate all 10 regional offices of the Women's Bureau. This created an uproar in the women's community throughout the country. They knew that the regional offices have the pulse of working women in the country and are where work gets done. Women's organizations throughout the country rose to support the Women's Bureau. They contacted their congressional representatives asking for support, and while 69 congresswomen and men signed a joint letter to the then Secretary Elaine Chao asking her to reconsider, Senator Kennedy, as chair of the Senate Labor Committee, sent a letter to Secretary Chao asking her to meet with him to discuss this matter. Some of you may know that it was President John F. Kennedy who authorized the establishment of the regional offices so that the Women's Bureau can serve women, working women across the country better. So it would have been, I think, it would have been very hard for any labor secretary to have to face the lion of the Senate to explain why she wanted to get rid of the regional offices of the Women's Bureau, including the one in Boston. Shortly after that, the Bush administration withdrew the plan. Our history can be different from generations before us. Each of us has an opportunity to change our own history, even if it is a small step. And in closing, I want to share my own story with you. When my father passed away in Taiwan, my relatives helped my mother prepare the funeral arrangements. I was told that the names of sons and grandsons would be listed on my father's tombstone, but not the daughter's name, as this was the Chinese tradition. Some of my Asian friends there may understand this. I was shocked to hear this because my parents never treated me differently from my brothers as we were growing up. Not only was I shocked, but I was also very hurt. I felt I had been a good daughter. I was the oldest one. My brothers followed me to America. I had a very prestigious position as director of a U.S. Senator's office, which was very rare at the time for any Chinese Americans. I had fulfilled every possible duty as their offspring throughout my lifetimes. How could I be a non-person in the family line just because I was a woman? I cried and told my mother that was not fair. Well, to my surprise, it was my mother who shirked the conventions of her generation and stood up for me and told my relatives that my name should be on my father's tombstone. And so tradition changed in my immediate family. But that was not the end of the story. When my cousin found out about this, she told me that she had been the one to pay for her parents' burial and the upkeep of the family burial site, and her name was not on their tombstones either. So she ordered a new stone with her name added. Perhaps this is a small personal step, but over the centuries, women have been left out of family histories, and we have the power to change that history. This is a lesson I can pass down to my daughter, who will pass it down to her children and grandchildren. This century heralds a future for women and girls that far surpasses the dreams of my mother's generation and the expectations of my own. Women have stepped up to challenges throughout history. We can do it again. Each of us can become the vital difference to our families, to make our families, our community, and our nation better. Together, women will hold up half of the sky. Well, thank you very much for the honor of speaking to you.